Thom Miller from Ohio used to be involved in mobs. In fact, he was in prison several times, and then he found God after serving a long prison sentence. So as a result, he decided to become a pastor, and he has interpreted Christianity to indicate that men are allowed to have multiple wives, which is why this 60-year-old man not only has a 44-year-old wife, he just impregnated his 19-year-old wife with the blessing of his 44-year-old wife. Don't believe me? Take a look at this video from Barcroft Media.
Thom was released from prison a changed man in 1991. 7 years ago, he married his first wife, Belinda, who has 7 children from a previous marriage, and it was she who suggested the idea of introducing another woman to the family.
Belinda and I had been looking for a sister wife for a year. It had to open to the thought, and had tried to find somebody that was like-minded spiritually.
I wanted to have more of a family. I wanted to be complete, and having another lady in the house not only makes our family as a whole, but individually is a beautiful thing because it's like having a sister around.
This year, Thom tied the knot with 19-year-old Reba.
I'd known Reba for a long time, but then she moved away and hadn't seen her for years. Belinda and I were operating a food pantry that we have at the church, and Reba just come running across the parking lot. I caught something because she hugged me, and I was like, that wasn't a normal hug. I wanted to keep hugging her. And I realized, wow, I'm really appreciating her as a woman.
But Reba's family did not approve at first.
First, my family thought it wasn't right. They didn't think that it was right for me to be here and be with him because of the whole him being married.
How is this not a reality show yet? I would watch a couple episodes of that.
I mean, maybe we're being judgmental. You know, they're adults, they're all consenting to this, and it is what it is. However, if I had a 19-year-old daughter, I would not just sit her down and tell her, I disagree with your life choices right now. I would lock her in a room and say, listen, I know that this like really handsome 60-year-old is intriguing and you just can't help yourself, but let me show you really hot guys your age.
But the locking up wouldn't work though. That would only make him want him more.
I don't know what I would do if I were in this situation because this is just I mean, she's having his baby, you know? Like this is some Jerry Springer shit.
And she wants him. She wants to be with him.
Yeah, that's why
women love each other too.
Let me just get this out of the way before people start criticizing us. We're going to be very judgmental, okay? I know I'm being judgmental, but I'm going to go ahead and continue.
I haven't decided yet if I will be.
Okay.
But you proceed.
All right, I will proceed. She's 19. Like, she doesn't know what she's doing. If she was with someone her own age and she got pregnant at 19, I'd be like, no, what are you doing? You have your whole life ahead of you. Don't do this. I mean, it is Ohio, and things are a little different there, I guess. But she's
Let's take an entire state and just chuck it right under the nearest bus.
I know, I'm being so unfair.
It's not. I was gonna say it's not West Virginia. Why am I throwing 2 states on the bus?
All right, so yeah, West Virginia is pretty freaking bad.
I got no problem. I've never been there.
I do. Okay, so let me give you some more details on this. So the way that their relationship works is 3 nights out of the week, you know, one of them will hang out with this dude, sleep with him in their bed together, and then after the 3 nights are up, then they switch off. Every 3 nights they switch off. And so Reba says the following. She says that she gets jealous, but I try not to get jealous, and when it's not my time with Thom, I just try to occupy myself by going out with friends. The baby will have 2 moms, which I'm okay with.
I thought that was wrong. Baby having 2 moms. Is this traditional marriage here?
So another thing that I found interesting was like how this all kind of developed. It developed with the 44-year-old wife deciding, her name's Belinda, by the way, Belinda deciding that, you know, she wants a bigger family, and so she suggested that her husband go out and look for another wife. And it sounds like so many porn videos where like the babysitter is seduced by the wife and the husband.
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
No.
Neither have I.
Did you see that one with, no. Yeah, I mean, look, how much, like when she says we need to have a conversation, I think you need to go get some side tail. He's been like, yes, this is so much better than I thought it would be. I don't know, we were talking about whether we're gonna be judgmental. They all want it.
I know. What
they
they're
all
doing is
want to
not
be in it,
wrong.
and
It's
they
not
seem
wrong.
happy.
It is-
They could be lying to us or to themselves, but they seem happy. I guess look, we have to acknowledge that culture plays a role. And if you're raised to think that sister wives are okay, or that's even a term you should use, then you might be pushed into something that outside of that circumstance you wouldn't do. And so I do think that culture is something that should be within the realm of criticism in some cases. But they are supposedly happy.
Yeah, as long as they're happy and as long as they're all consenting, it's fine.
Nobody's being hurt.
The only thing that I do know, and this is honestly my only serious commentary about this, so everything that I've said up until now, please disregard it. I was messing around. But what I will say is that she's 19. You changed so much from like 19 to 25. You changed so much from 25 to 30. And so she's making very serious, permanent life decisions right now. And I worry about it. Not because I think polygamy is a terrible thing and it should be completely banned and outlawed, but because I just have a lot of concerns about someone who's as young as her making these types of decisions in her life. I think at 19, you should be exploring who you are as a person. You should be dating. You should be having fun. You should be getting an education. You shouldn't be messing around with a 60-year-old man and his 44-year-old wife.
I agree, and I very much looked forward in my teens to doing that sort of experimentation. I didn't get to do it, but I wanted to. I do think you should do that. That's true. But we've decided as a society that 18, you're an adult.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not going to ban it.
I know,
right?
I totally know. But I feel like not us here, but us as a society, when I hear people question, like, it's but they're only 19, it very often is a woman. Like, I feel like there's this thing where even though we supposedly believe that men and women are equal, I think that we push back, and women, I've always heard, mature faster than men. But I feel like with women, we always question whether they're really able to make their own decisions later in life than we do with men.
No, it's not even about whether or not she's able to make a decision. Of course she's able to make a decision. There's no question about that. What I'm trying to say is that who she is as a 19-year-old is very different from who she's going to become when she hits 30. Okay?
Oh, I think you're right.
And that's not an opinion, that's fact. And I know that because I lived that. I was in a relationship from 19 to 27, and when I was 19, I was 100% certain that that was going to be the guy I wanted to marry, and I wasn't going to change, and I'm going to be the same person. And then at 27, I was like, shit, I've been a different person for like 3 years, and this isn't the right relationship for me.
Do you think that the relationship would have worked better if you had a sister wife?
Probably.
Might have
That might have been a really good solution.